Welcome to our special news report. From the city of Marseille, horrifying images are being broadcast, showcasing the devastating power of nature. The strongest storm in many years has struck the southeast of France, creating an unprecedented disaster. Torrential floodwaters are pouring in from rivers, submerging roads, and engulfing many homes. We have received information that over 150 millimeters of rain has fallen within just 24 hours. That's an alarming figure, and a natural disaster is unfolding at a staggering pace. Prepare yourselves for even worse to come. In Marseille, the largest city in the region, flooding is spiraling out of control. The streets are no longer pathways for vehicles, but have turned into raging rivers. Cars and motorcycles are being swept away like small pieces of wood before the powerful torrents. The relentless floodwaters are pounding the main roads, where just a few hours ago, people were bustling about. Many households have been cut off, unable to move outside. Police and rescue teams are trying their best, but they are facing immense difficulties due to the high water levels and the strong currents. Behind the city of Nice, the situation is even worse. Hundreds of homes are submerged in water, with many families unable to evacuate in time, now trapped in the violent floodwaters. The howling winds, the rain pounding on rooftops, and the rising floodwaters by the hour are creating an atmosphere of sheer terror. People are in despair, making frantic calls for help in vain, as rescue services are unable to reach them quickly. Images from these areas are being sent in at a rapid pace, but we fear this is only the beginning of a much larger tragedy. The situation in Turin, Italy, is not much different. A major bridge has collapsed, isolating dozens of people in the area. The rising floodwaters have destroyed the structure of the bridge, causing it to collapse in a catastrophic manner, creating a haunting scene. Rescue teams are struggling to reach those who are isolated, but the severe weather conditions have made almost all efforts futile. Heavy rain and flash floods are causing widespread damage, and with each passing hour, the situation is becoming increasingly critical. In Val di Susa, one of the hardest hit areas, the floodwaters have washed away not only the bridge but also several main roads. Torrents of water have rushed down from the hills, carrying with them mud, trees, and large debris, creating a scene of utter chaos. Rescue teams have been working through the night in extremely harsh conditions to try to keep people safe. But the situation is becoming increasingly dangerous. Small villages along the rivers are under threat of being submerged by the floodwaters at any moment. A video posted on social media shows truly horrifying scenes. Relentless heavy rain, floodwaters rushing into homes, and people in panic, desperately seeking shelter. An entire neighborhood in Marseille has turned into a sea of water. Residents are climbing onto rooftops, trying to call for help from authorities. The floodwaters are rising quickly, and many people have yet to evacuate. This is an extremely critical situation, and we cannot predict what will happen next. The orange alert has been raised for southern France and northwestern Italy, with forecasts indicating that the situation will worsen in the next few hours. Rescue teams are doing their best, but time is not on their side. We have received notifications from authorities that everyone should prepare for emergency evacuations during the night. Heavy rain and flash floods will continue to hit these areas throughout tonight and into tomorrow. Meanwhile, in Milan, the water level of the Lambro River has exceeded the critical 2.60-meter mark. Public parks, residential areas, and numerous buildings have been swept away by the floodwaters. Suburban neighborhoods have turned into small rivers, with water pouring into homes, carrying mud and debris from other areas. The scene here is causing panic among residents, as no one expected this storm to be so powerful. The residents of the Piedmont area in Turin are facing a fierce battle to protect their families and homes from the rising floodwaters. Roads in nearby areas have been completely closed off, and vehicles are unable to access the region. Rescue teams are doing their best to clear paths, but all efforts are hindered as heavy rain continues to pour down relentlessly. In the high mountain areas of Val di Susa, rivers have overflowed, causing landslides. Hundreds of people have been isolated in small villages perched high in the mountains. Bridges and roads have been completely destroyed, making it impossible for residents to move. Rescue teams have been working through the night, but have still not been able to reach the entire area. Several rivers in central France are also at risk of overflowing. Water levels are rising rapidly, and we have received warnings from authorities that surrounding areas could be flooded at any moment. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated urgently, but many others are still unable to leave, as the flooding situation continues to worsen. The successive violent storms have left villages along the major rivers completely isolated. The floodwaters have swept away houses, vehicles, and everything in their path. This catastrophic scene not only threatens the lives of residents, but also destroys the entire infrastructure of the area. Many villages are now facing the risk of being completely submerged by the floods. In Santa Petronilla, a high-altitude village in northwestern Italy, 30 residents had to be evacuated urgently during the night. Floodwaters rushed down from the mountains, turning the small village roads into raging rivers. The residents had no choice but to leave everything behind and seek safe shelter. The situation here is becoming more critical than ever. Rescue forces in Milan have had to deploy a series of emergency water reservoirs to deal with the floodwaters overflowing the drainage system. However, the water from the Lambro River continues to rise, threatening to overwhelm all the city's protective measures. A vast area of the city has already been deeply submerged, and many residents are seeking temporary shelter in higher areas. We urge all residents in dangerous areas to follow all instructions from authorities and evacuate as soon as possible. Heavy rain and flash floods will continue over the next few hours. We will keep you updated with the latest developments on this situation. Stay safe and always be prepared for any emergency that may arise.